Parents should educate their children line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, not allowing any disregard of God's holy law. They should rely upon divine power, asking the Lord to help them to keep their children true to Him, who gave His only begotten Son to bring the disloyal and disobedient back to Him. God longs to pour upon men and women the rich current of His love. He longs to see them delighting to do His will, using every jot of their entrusted powers in their service, teaching all who come within the sphere of their influence that the way to be treated as righteous for Christ's sake is to obey the law. One of the first lessons a child needs to learn is a lesson of obedience. Before he is old enough to reason, he may be taught to obey. The mother's word should commence with the infant. She should subdue the will and temper of the child and bring its disposition into subjection. Teach the child to be obedient, and as he grows or she grows older, relax not the hand. A mother should not allow her child to gain an advantage over her in a single instance, and in order to maintain their authority, it is not necessary to resort to harsh measures. A firm, steady hand and kindness which convinces the child of your love will accomplish the purpose. But left to selfishness, anger, and self-will will have their course for the first 3 years of a child's life, and it will be hard to bring that child to submit to wholesome discipline. The child's disposition has become soured. It delights in having its own way. Parental control is distasteful. These evil tendencies grow with its growth until in manhood, supreme selfishness and a lack of self-control place him at the mercy of the evils that run riot in our land. Never should our children be allowed to show their parents disrespect. Self-will should never be permitted to go unrebuked. The future well-being of the child requires kindly, loving, but firm discipline. The youth and children who have praying parents have been greatly privileged for such an opportunity to know and love God. In respecting and rendering obedience to their parents, they may learn how to respect and obey their Heavenly Father. If they walk as children of the light, they will be kind and courteous, loving and respectful to their parents, whom they have seen, and thus be better qualified to love God, whom they have not seen. If they are faithful representatives of their parents, practicing the truth through the help given them of God, then by precept and example, they acknowledge the ownership of God and honor Him by a well-ordered life and godly conversation. Let parents and teachers impress upon the minds of children that the Lord is proving them in this life to see if they will render obedience to Him with love and reverence. Those who would not be obedient to Christ here would not be obedient to Him in the eternal world. If parents or children are ever welcomed into the mansions above, it will be because they have in this world learned to obey the commands of God. Children are to be taught that their capabilities were given them for the honor and glory of God. To this end, they must learn the lesson of obedience. By gentle, persistent effort, the behavior or the habit should be established. Thus, to a great degree, may be prevented those later conflicts between will and authority that do so much to arouse in the minds of the youth alienation and bitterness towards parents and teachers, and too often resistance of all authority, human and divine. When parents fail to require prompt and perfect obedience in their children, they fail to lay the right foundation of character in their little ones. They prepare their children to dishonor them when they are old and bring sorrow to their hearts when they are nearing the grave. Teach your children to honor you, because the law of God lays this duty upon children. If you allow your children to lightly esteem your wishes and pay no regard to the laws of the household, you are winking at sin. You are permitting the devil to work as he will, and the same subordination, want of reverence, and will of self will be carried with them even into the religious life and into the church. And the beginning of all this evil is charged in the books of heaven to the neglect of the parents. Your children, before they are old enough, as long as they can hear and understand what is spoken in reference to themselves and know to what extent they are to be indulged, teach them so. Parents, you should train your children to yield to your wishes. This point must be gained if you would hold the control over their lives and preserve their dignity, and preserve your dignity too as a parent. Your children quickly learn just what you expect of them. They know when their will conquer yours and will make the most of their victory. Among the first tasks of parents is the restraining of passion in your children. Children should not be allowed to manifest anger. They should not be permitted to throw themselves upon the floor, striking and crying because something has been denied them which was not for their best good. Do not do that, parents. Do not indulge them. Don't, because you are creating monsters. All right? And if this continues, it will be repeated, and its repetition will result in habit, and so the child's character will receive an evil mold. Whenever I want something, demand it through tantrum and anger. Sadly, some parents have not control over themselves. They do not control their own morbid appetites or their passionate temper. Therefore, they cannot educate their children in regard to denial of their appetite and teach them self-control. If parents desire to teach their children self-control, they must first form the habit themselves. The scolding and fault-finding of parents encourages an hasty, passionate temper in their children. Parents are too fond of ease and pleasure to do the work appointed them of God in their home life. We should not see the terrible state of evil that exists among the youth of today if they had been properly trained at home. If parents would take up their God-given work and would teach self-restraint, self-denial, and self-control to their children, both by precept and example, they would find that while they were seeking to do their duty so as to meet the approval of God, they would be learning precious lessons in the school of Christ. They would be learning patience, forbearance, love, and meekness, and these are the very lessons that they must teach to their children. Parents are too fond of ease and pleasure to do the work appointed them of God in their home life. We should not see the terrible state of evil that exists among the youth of today if they had been properly trained at home. If parents would take up their God-given work and would teach self-restraint, self-denial, and self-control to their children, both by precept and example, they would find that while they were seeking to do their duty so as to meet the approval of God, they would be learning precious lessons in the school of Christ. They would be learning patience, forbearance, love, and meekness, And these are the very lessons that they must teach to their children.